these same parcels of ground. Has the applicant asked to have those consolidated?
It's my understanding. I think, yep, I'm receiving a nod from the back of the room. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, the Commission is going to grant that. And for the members of the public, what that means is that there are two public hearings here. Change of zone number 1984, Carl M. Freeman Companies, and conditional use number 2368, Carl M. Freeman Companies. And the subject of both of those hearings is the same piece of property. So what we're going to allow the applicant to do is to consolidate his presentation into one presentation. However, when we act on them, we will act on them as two separate applications. Just want to make that clear that that's what we're doing. And with that, Mr. Whitehouse.
Thank you. Application C.
Mr. Whitehouse, I will recuse myself.
Application CZ 1984 is an ordinance to amend the comprehensive zoning map of Sussex County from an AR1 agricultural residential district to an MR medium density residential district for a certain parcel of land lying and being in Baltimore 100, Sussex County, containing 9.2 acres more or less. Properties are lying on the north side of Lighthouse Road, which is Route 54, and the west side of Bennett Avenue, approximately 350 feet west of Madison Avenue. The 911 address is not available, and the tax parcel ID is District 533, Map 20, Parcel 20.00 and 20.00. Submitted into the record for CZ 1984, we have the applicant's change of zone plan, we have a copy of the staff analysis, we have a copy of the plus comments, we have a copy of the applicant's traffic operational analysis, we have a copy of the Del service level evaluation response, we have a copy of the minutes of the Commission and Council meetings of June 10th, 2021, July 8th, 2021, July 27th, 2021 and October 12th of 2021. In total, for the change of zone, we have received 31 comments that are included in your paperless packet. Application CU 2368 is an ordinance to grant a conditional use of land in an MR medium density residential district for multi-family dwellings, 23 units, to be located on a certain parcel of land lying and being in Baltimore 100, Sussex County, containing 9.2 acres more or less. The properties are lying on the north side of Lighthouse Road, which is Route 54, and the west side of Bennett Avenue, approximately 200 feet west of Deer Run Road, Sussex County Route 388. The 911 address is not available, and the tax parcel ID is District 533, Map 20, Parcels 22.00 and 20.00. Submitted into the record for the conditional use, Mr. Chairman, we have a copy of the applicant's conceptual site plan. We have a copy of the staff analysis. We have a copy of a letter received from the Sussex County Engineering Department, Utility Planning Division. We have a copy of the Del service level evaluation response. We have a copy of the applicant's traffic operational analysis and the Del response to the traffic operational analysis. We have a copy of the plus comments for the parcel. We also have copies of the minutes for those same full minutes for the meetings of June 10th, Planning and Zoning Commission, July 8th, Planning and Zoning Commission, 2021, County Council on July 27th of 2021, and County Council of October 12th, 2021. We also have 48 comments submitted into the record. One or two of those, Mr. Chairman, appear to be duplicates, but they are included in your paperless packet. Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will stand by, we're going to take a recess for just about 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. Call the meeting to order, and the chair recognizes Mr. Fuqua.
And just for everybody's benefit, Mr. Butler had a family issue that came up. It's not a recusal from the hearing. He just needs to take care of some family issues. However, he is eligible to vote on this. He will listen to the recording like we do frequently, and then deliberate and vote with the commission, when this comes back for a vote. So it's regrettable, but certainly there's things that are more important than planning and zoning. So with that, Mr. Fuqua.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Jim Fuqua. I will add that unlike the old days, because you video all the meetings now, it is much more enjoyable to listen and watch the hearing at the same time rather than just sit there listening to the tape. And I
I don't
also
know that enjoyable is the word necessarily.
maybe I embellish a little bit.
I think
Tolerable,
you
maybe.
can watch it and have that sense of, wow, I'm glad it's not me.
And I also want to state I'm glad I'm not presenting a solar array application right now. I think you've heard enough about that today.
Really.
Again, for the record, my name is Jim Fuqua. I represent the applicant, Carlin Freeman Companies. With me are Josh Mastrangelo, who's the Senior Vice President of Freeman, Katja Kolinsky and Steve Marsh from GMB, and Ed Linné of Environmental Resources, Inc. There was an exhibit book that was submitted for the record containing information about the application. And as the chairman already stated, there are actually two applications before you today. One is a change of zone request from AR1 to MR. And the second is a conditional use request for 23 townhouse units. It's going to be a development called Channel Pointe Villas. And as you stated, I will address both those applications in one presentation. The applications, Jamie, could you put the tax map up, I think? The applications involve a 9.2 acre parcel of land that's located on the north side of Route 54. It's adjacent to Bennett Avenue. It's approximately 1 mile west of the Route 1, Route 54 intersection. And in order to properly explain these applications, and for the benefit of Mr. Collins and Mr. Butler, I'd want to review some of the recent land use history of this site, which is relevant to the application. I believe Mr. Wheatley and Mr. Mears will remember the prior application. The 9.2 acre parcel involved in today's applications was part of a 120 acre parcel that was purchased by the Freeman Companies in March of 2022. The company previously had a contract to purchase the property, and in 2018 had applied for a 70 single-family lot cluster subdivision on the majority of the site, which was made up of uplands and wetlands. That application was designated as subdivision 2018-18. Preliminary approval for that subdivision was granted in November of 2018, and final site plan approval for that subdivision in February of 2022. The 9.2 acre parcel before you today was not part of that final approved 70 lot subdivision. Subsequently to that application, in 2020, Freeman applied for a conditional use for this same 9.2 acre parcel for a 70 room hotel and an 8,500 square foot restaurant. The Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing in June of 2021, and in July of 2021 acted on the application, which resulted in a very unusual result. There were only 4 commissioners participating in the decision. A motion was made to recommend denial of the application, which resulted in a 2 in favor and 2 against vote. So the recommendation to deny failed. No motion was made to recommend approval, but I think it's pretty safe to say that also would have resulted in a 2-2 vote. As a result, Attorney Sharp, who was representing the commission at that application hearing, indicated that the application would proceed to County Council without a recommendation. So this actually went to Council with no recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Council held their public hearings in July 2021, and in October they voted on the application, and that also resulted in a 2-2 vote. So it was a tied vote. 3 votes are required to approve an application, so since 3 votes were not received, the application was denied. In the record, I submitted copies of all of the meetings of the commission and the council on that application if anyone cares to review that. So that's in the record. And I would, since there was no recommendation, there is no recommendation, but I would summarize what I view as the reasons that some of the commissioners and some of the councilmen voted against the application as follows. And I'll defer to Mr. Mears because Mr. Mears made the motion to deny, so I'm just kind of summarizing and condensing what I believe was the essence of what you stated. In summary, again, on the denial, the reasons for denial of that application was that a hotel and a restaurant are not a residential project or a commercial enterprise in the middle of a predominantly residential area. That proposed use was too intense, it was out of character, and it was not compatible with the existing residential uses that largely surrounded the property. The applicant disagrees with that opinion, but our disagreement is irrelevant. The application did not receive 3 votes. The approval was therefore denied, and that was the end of the hotel restaurant proposal. Now, based on that history and the comments that were made that I just referred to, the applicant filed these applications before you today, which do not propose an intense commercial use, but a residential use that is in character and compatible with the residential uses that already exist in the area. Now, as to the nature of the area, the site is the piece that's outlined in yellow, again, located on the north side of Route 54. To the south, on the other side, or the south side of Route 54, are the Edgewater Acres and the Cape Windsor residential developments. They're composed of single-family lots, and as you can see and as you know, the majority of those lots are located on man-made canals. Just to the west of Cape Windsor, which would kind of be in the upper left-hand corner there, again, fronting on Route 54 is a development called Veranda Bay. That parcel is zoned MR. It was approved as a conditional use in 2004 for 12 multifamily units, and that development has a density of 4.8 units to the acre, and that was conditional use number 1523. On the north side of Route 54, adjacent to our site going west, is a broad expanse of open tidal and non-tidal wetlands. It stretches over a half a mile westward to the next development property, which you can't see on the map there, but the next property is Treasure Beach RV Park and Campground. North and to the rear of our site, which again just appears there as undeveloped area, that is the Channel Pointe subdivision. That's the 70-lot subdivision, which I said was approved and is being developed by the applicant Freeman Companies. And then to the east of our site, and Jamie, could you blow that up a little bit? Yeah, that's better, thank you. So to the east of our site is a mixture, and that's Bennett Avenue separating our site from what I'm referring to the east. To the east of our site is a mixture of zoning and uses. There are a couple of single-family homes fronting on Bennett Avenue on lot zoned AR. The northern portion of the rest of the adjacent land is zoned marine, and it's currently developed with a marina with boat slips, the Catch 54 Fish House restaurant, and a multifamily townhouse development called Fenwick Landing. Fenwick Landing is 26 townhomes on 1.49 acres of land, which would be a gross density of 17.4 units per acre. The remaining portion of the adjacent land, which would be the portion that actually fronts on Route 54 and Bennett Avenue, is zoned B1 neighborhood business. It's the location of an existing spa facility, the Papa Grande restaurant, and then a large parking lot that serves those businesses. As to the specifics of the proposed development, central water will be provided by Artesian Water Company. They're a public water utility company that holds a certificate of public convenience and necessity to serve this area. The site is located in the county's West Fenwick Sanitary Sewer District. It will be served by county sewer, as is all of this area surrounding the site, and the county engineering department has indicated and confirmed that there is adequate sewer capacity available for the development. Stormwater management facilities will be designed and constructed in compliance with DENREC regulations and will be reviewed and approved by the Sussex Conservation District. The entire 120-acre property, including the 9.2-acre parcel, had a wetland delineation performed by Ed Linné of Environmental Resources, Inc. The delineation was reviewed by the U.S. Corps of Engineers Office, and a jurisdictional determination letter was issued by the Corps. That delineation was found that the 9.2-acre site contained 3.88 acres of tidal wetlands and 4.2 acres of non-tidal wetlands. All of the wetlands are located along the western side of the parcel, and the site design provides a 50-foot minimum buffer from the tidal wetlands line to lot lines. That tidal wetland buffer average is 72 feet. The minimum is 50 feet. And there also is a 20-foot voluntary minimum buffer from the non-tidal wetland line. And that minimum 20-foot buffer actually has an average width of 36 feet. This application was filed before the recent resource buffer ordinance was passed, so I'm referring to the non-tidal buffer as being voluntary because that ordinance did not apply yet. And I do want to state that contrary to allegations that are stated in some of the emails that were received on these applications, no wetlands are being disturbed, no wetlands are being filled, no wetlands are being encroached upon, and no wetlands are being disturbed in any fashion. And as I just stated, there will be a minimum buffer from both the tidal wetlands and the non-tidal wetland lines. Environmental Resources also confirmed with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that there were no federally listed threatened or endangered species or critical habitat associated with the site. Per the FEMA flood zone maps, the majority of this, of the portion of the site being developed is actually located out of the 100-year floodplain area. So this is designated as Zone X on the FEMA maps, which isn't unusual, but it's very unusual for this area because almost all of this area is in the floodplain. The history of this site was that it had been used at one point in time when Route 54 was being rebuilt as a storage area for fill and things. So this site is actually higher here than some of the surrounding area. The western portion of the site being developed, that's the area adjacent to the wetlands, that is in Zone AE, as I said, as is all of the existing development in the area. And as far as the development is concerned, it will comply with the construction elevations and other FEMA requirements which are required and are part of the Sussex County Building Code. As to traffic impact, DelDOT indicated that in accordance with DelDOT's Development Coordination Manual, the trips generated by the 23 townhouse development did not warrant a traffic impact study. Now, that being said, DelDOT further indicated that it had already reviewed and commented on a traffic operational analysis, or TOA, that Freeman had done through their consultant, Century Engineering, and that TOA was done in connection with the 70-lot subdivision and the originally proposed motel and restaurant, which, again, was a much more intense development in terms of traffic because of the traffic generated by the restaurant and the hotel. The improvements recommended by the TOA are the improvements that will be required and the applicant's responsibility today for this application and for the 70-lot subdivision, even though this impact is significantly less than the hotel restaurant. The required improvements will include the following. Bennett Avenue currently intersects with Route 54 at an angle, and Bennett Avenue will be realigned so that it intersects with Route 54 at a right angle that will be directly opposite Monroe Avenue on the south side of Route 54, and that'll create a more regular standard four-legged intersection. And Mr. Whitehouse, could you put up the site plan? So with the realigned Bennett Avenue in place of the angled intersection, it'll just be a safer connection. The location of the realigned road will actually be built on land that is owned by the applicant, so it doesn't involve any third parties. And the applicant will be dedicating that to DelDOT. The new intersection will have turn lanes and pedestrian, bike, and transit improvements as recommended by DelDOT. They will include a 10-foot wide public shared use path along the Route 54 road frontage and provide a pad site for a DART bus stop on Route 54. And most important, as far as the traffic improvements, and also as recommended by DelDOT's 2021 SR54 corridor study, the applicant will be responsible for the installation of a traffic signal at the realigned Route 54 Bennett Avenue, Monroe Avenue intersection. So that is where Bennett Avenue will be realigned. That will be a signalized intersection. And Mr. Weiss, can you put up the colored rendering? I think that might be a little... Now, all of those improvements I just mentioned will be the responsibility of the Freeman Company, and basically they are required as part of the improvements for both the Channel Pointe subdivision and the Channel Pointe villas. As to the development design, the development will have access from Bennett Avenue at a new traffic circle on Bennett Avenue at Madison Avenue, and so this is Bennett Avenue here coming in. The actual entrance is down here at this traffic circle to be created, which is also at the entrance to the subdivision. There'll be an interior drive, as you can see, terminating at a cul-de-sac. The 23 townhouse units are located in 4 buildings. The buildings front on the internal drive, which will have sidewalks on both sides. The 23 units on this property is a density permitted by the MR zoning, and that density is determined by deducting the 3.88 acres of tidal wetlands from the 9.2 acre parcel size, and that results in a net developable area of 5.32 acres, which supports the 23 proposed units. The average townhouse lot, and these will be townhouse lots, not condominiums, they'll be individually owned as townhouse lots. They will have sprinkler systems, and we'll have 3 parking spaces for each unit, a 1-car garage, and 2 parking spaces in the driveway. There will also be 7 additional guest parking spaces located adjacent to a recreational amenity. Recreational amenities right here. That will consist of an outdoor swimming pool, a deck area, a bathhouse, and also the central mailbox will be located there. We are proposing that the recreational amenity would be required to be completed by the time of the issuance of the 18th certificate of occupancy, which is basically the completion of the 3rd building. The stormwater management ponds basically are located along Bennett Avenue near the entrance and near the development entrance along Route 54. The development will be attractively landscaped with trees and other plantings along Bennett Avenue, along Route 54, and along the north boundary of the site, which is adjacent to the subdivision, as well as internally. A detailed landscaping plan will be submitted as part of the final site plan review. As I have stated, no wetlands are impacted or disturbed by the site design, and on the western side of the site, there will be the minimum 50-foot buffer from the tidal wetlands and the minimum 20-foot buffer from the non-tidal wetlands. The townhouse lots and road right-of-way occupy approximately 2.34 acres of the site. That results in the remainder of the site, which is 7.04 acres, being open space comprised of the recreational amenity area, stormwater management areas, common areas, and wetlands. There'll be a homeowners association formed that will manage and maintain the common areas of the community. The final item I want to address are the legal standards applicable to these applications. Our applications request a change of zone to MR, medium density residential, and a conditional use for 23 townhouses. The purpose of the MR district is to provide for medium density residential development in areas which are or which are expected to be urban in character, and where public central sewer and water are available, and townhouses are an authorized conditional use in the MR district. And again, this is an area that is largely developed, and central water and sewer are available. Under the 2019 Comprehensive Land Use Plan, the future land use map designates the 9.2 acre parcel as being located in the coastal area, which is one of the growth areas designated in the plan. The plan states on page 4-9 that it seeks to encourage the county's most concentrated forms of new development, including most higher density residential development in growth areas such as the coastal area. The plan further states on page 4-15 and 16 that a range of housing types should be permitted in the coastal area, including single-family homes, townhouses, and multifamily units. It also states that medium and higher density development of 4 to 12 units per acre can be appropriate in certain locations, and they are locations where central water and sewer are available, locations near existing commercial uses and employment centers, locations where the use is in keeping with the character of the area, or locations where, or properties located along main roads. So based on the information that is in the record and stated in our presentation, and particularly the following facts, this site is located on a major road, and the applicant will be responsible for significant roadway and signalization improvements. That the site is in the coastal area, which is a growth zone where medium and higher residential density is appropriate. That the development will be served by central water and sewer. That unlike the hotel and restaurant application, this application is not a commercial enterprise in a predominantly residential area, but it's a residential use in character with the nature of the area. And that the proposed townhouse development with a density of 4.3 units per acre is located adjacent to an existing commercial uses, the restaurants and the marina and the other businesses, as well as an existing townhouse development that has a density of 17.4 units per acre. That based on those reasons, the proposed MR zoning and the conditional use for 23 townhouses are in accordance with the comprehensive plan and are in character with the nature of the area. I do have proposed findings and conditions, which I'll give to Mr. Whitehouse. And that would conclude our presentation, subject to any questions the commissioners may have.
All right, sir, we thank you. We'll see if anyone has any questions for you, and we'll start with Mr. Mears.
Yeah, I have a few. Mr. Fugway, how will Bennett Road impact the vital parking lot used by the businesses? It's right there by Route 54. Will there be access to that parking lot on Bennett?
Yes, there would be an access onto the realigned parking lot, which would come across, again, I believe, land that's owned by Freeman.
What about the traffic lights? If approved, what time period, would that go in early in construction, or is that after construction?
Just identify yourself.
Josh Mastrangelo with Carl Freeman Companies. The traffic signal will be a part of a larger project that DelDOT is planning on Route 54, which is to replace the bridges on both sides of the site. So as a part of that, we're coordinating with DelDOT so that there's not construction. It'll all happen at one time. So the timing of that will largely be dictated by DelDOT and their project.
That's
So
great.
we're working with them in coordination.
That's great. Parking, it seems like you did a great job of meeting that. I would like to see more parking because if approved, these units would be rented, and boy, you can get 20 people in a house. That's just a comment.
I think there might be a private restriction against that in this situation.
So you're 2.3 per acre, right?
4.3,
4.3, okay.
which is MR density.
That's all I have now.
All right, sir. Mr. Collins.
I'm pretty familiar with that particular area. Sorry. Yeah, I recall it stays very wet. I've been there. You know, the road tends to be a bit flooded when I've been through there. You have to kind of avoid large holes. So it's good that you're proposing rerouting the road and making improvements as part of the development.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that, as I said, because of the past history of this site, it's actually the highest piece of property in that entire area down there. It's actually not in the floodplain. It's at an elevation that exceeds the base elevations just because of the history of it. But we all remember, well, the recent road improvements were done there because the road used to flood, Route 54, and
Right.
it's a low area.
I thought I read somewhere that it was in the floodplain and that some of the units would require flood insurance.
Well, again, if you actually, the actual flood zone map of this area, the entire area is blue. It's all in the flood zone, with the exception of the piece we're talking about today. Now, a portion of the development of the piece being developed is in the flood zone, and that will have to comply with elevations. But all of that area is under those same requirements.
No other questions?
Mr. Chairman, may I ask another?
Sure.
There's a berm built up on that property. Are you going to build on top of the berm, or?
Well, I think the site itself would be reconfigured, and, you know.
Because that would keep it above the floodplain.
Yeah, I think, well, they'll have to, yeah, you know, again, that gets into the engineering. and
I'm sure it'll
construction.
have to be reconfigured. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Staff, any questions?
I actually, this is on, right? I actually did have one question. You had stated earlier that the amenities were to be completed by the issuance of the 18th certificate of occupancy. And what percentage of the total number of building permits does that represent for this? I don't have a
Roughly, I'd
calculator
say
for me.
75.
Okay.
Normally on a subdivision, we, at least I generally try to hit around 50% as the point. The difference here is because you have 4 buildings, obviously all the units are going to be done at the same time, so it's going to be coming online, you know, 5 units, roughly. One building has 6 units. I was just trying to find what I thought was a reasonable thing, because if half the units would only be 10 units, I don't know whether you need a swimming pool and facilities yet. It's, you know, that's obviously up to the commission.
I did have another question. I think you may have mentioned that there may be some plan to have a prohibition against rentals, seasonal rentals or something.
But that's just a personal statement I made, but I would say, again, in the big picture, Freeman is developing what will be a fairly high-end residential development to the rear here, and will also then be developing this as a companion development. I think it's going to be pretty tightly restricted as far as development is concerned. And, you know, you can put on private things about that rentals need to be a minimum of a monthly rental or a 2-week rental or things of that nature. There's all different ways to deal with it. They're not looking for mass quantities of rentals.
Then you have the HOA needing to enforce all that. It's a little messy.
But it's the same everywhere.
For other questions for me?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
None for me, thank you.
None for me either, thanks.
All right, sir. If you'll take a seat nearby, we'll see if there's anybody here with an interest in your application. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of change of zone 1984 and/or conditional use 2368 Carl M. Freeman Companies? In favor? Anyone like to speak in opposition? All right, sir, come on up. Nope, you just turned it off. There you go. Now you got her.
I know, I say this every time. You'd think if it's on, it would be green. Instead, when it's on, it's red. I don't know, that's backwards, but.
That's to warn me not to talk when
Yeah, that's right.
All right, good afternoon. First, I'd like to thank you for your service to the county. My name again is Brian Radcliffe. My wife and I live on Cleveland Avenue in Cape Windsor. That was mentioned that it was on man-made canals probably close to 50 years ago when we didn't care about the environment. We made mistakes then. I'm going to make a few comments on the presentation, and then I'll go back to my speech. Okay. I think the unusual result was that the Freeman Group didn't get their way. That's really the unusual thing. I was told at the time there was a waste of my time to come before you several years ago when they wanted to build a restaurant and a hotel there, and I was firm believing that it did make a difference, and I believe that it did. They talk about no intense commercial development. Well, this is intense residential development. Old decisions based in 2004, which mentioned about a zoning, has nothing to do with today. If we made mistakes in the past, I think that's the term of insanity, when you keep on doing the same thing and expect a different result. So this is a chance where we can make a statement there. DelDOT did a survey. You can do a survey on Route 54, Lighthouse Road, but go there on any Saturday, and you know the infrastructure has not kept up with that. I wonder if that survey was done before the new developments or the ones that are proposed on Route 20 and 54. If you go there, there's hardly any trees left. The traffic signal is not going to alleviate traffic problems. If you've gone down Route 1 in Rehoboth at the outlets, you see where the lights do not really help in traffic unless you're coming on. But the flow of traffic from people coming to the beach is not going to be there. The character is not density. If you take a look around that property there, you see a lot of open ground. And you can say, what about the 72 houses? Well, somehow that was sort of snuck in that the community didn't know about it. All right, back to my concerns. My wife and I bought 7 years ago thinking that zoning would not change. As I said before, several years ago, I came here and spoke to you, and the decision to not approve the zoning and the restaurant was turned down, and it's the same property. What's happened during this time to change the zoning? Is the road wider? No. The bridge being redone is only going to add an emergency lane in the center, which is definitely a good thing there. Is there additional housing? Yes. Is there more traffic in the area? Without a doubt. If this zoning change goes through, is it going to make the area better? That's the real question. We can talk about whether it's 3.1 homes per acre or whatever, but we don't need to even go there if we don't change the zoning. I'd like to think that this group association is made up of intelligent, reasonable people. I just read in the local paper that the Worcester County Zoning Commission had a very similar thing last week. Property across from Ocean Pines North, they wanted to change it from agriculture, and they decided because of the traffic on 589, which is similar to Lighthouse Road, which is too much traffic to make that change. And they voted 5-2 to not approve that change. I know that you're concerned with the community. I know you're concerned with, I guess, progress, but I don't think this is a zoning thing that we should approve. I appreciate your time, and I hope you do a lot of thinking. And again, the most important thing is things that have been done in the past can be right or wrong. And if we're talking about the canals built in Cape Windsor, or if we're talking about homes next to Papa Grande, they may have been a mistake, but you can't change that. But what you can change is the decision to change this zoning for this property. Thank you very much.
All right, sir, we thank you. Okay, who's next? Anyone else like to speak? Okay, going once. Twice. All right, then, there being no one else who wishes to speak, we'll close the public hearing. We'll invite you to remain with us for the rest of the day to see if we make a decision, or you may wish to call the office in the morning. Thank you. Thank you. Next public hearing.